So we're sitting here this morning with Charlie Valier and Fritz Brandel at the top of the lake Snowmobile Museum, and we are about 45 minutes or so from the Mackinac Bridge. And we've had a tour here today, and there's a lot of really neat vintage snowmobiles here. It's worth everybody's time to come and pay a visit and buy something from to keep his lights on, so to speak. And we've had a great visit with Fritz and Charlie, so we're just going to go through something real quick here. So, Charlie, you've heard a little bit about Fritz's cross-country snowmobile trip, and you've also talked to us a little bit about how things are today. So, when Fritz did his cross-country trip in 1977 into 78, he basically flew by the seat of his pants. There was no groomed trails like there are today and things like that. So, in your somewhat expert opinion, what do you think the challenge would be, or how hard was that trip for Fritz to do?
Well, it's quite a challenge. Today we have the fancy map systems on your smartphone. You can't get lost. You have an idea where you're going. Back then, you were, like you said, flying by the seat of your pants. And then the snowmobiles, a 77 Scorpion. Yes, they were a nice snowmobile, but they aren't like today. And no wheels, wearing skis out. Yes, it was quite an adventure, I can imagine.
And Fritz, as we came back here today, you saw this area really for the first time from inside a car leisurely. And what are your feelings on what this area meant to you and what it's like to be back here today in this wonderful setting at the Snowmobile Museum?
Well, I honestly remember because I followed Route 2 all the way across, well, as far as you could. And I remember some of the places. But then you have to remember you're in a snowmobile and you're confined to your what you can see. And it's not like you saw the lake all the time. You knew there was water there, but you didn't know how big or what it was.
Yeah. So we just happen to be sitting here right under the Scorpion Snowmobile sign, which is pretty interesting that we see that sign right above us. Yes. And right next to Fritz is a Mercury snowmobile, which was Carl K. Kiefer's company that Fritz actually called first and asked him if he would sponsor the trip. And of course, Carl's response was, that trip can't be done, but if you do it, use American-made products. So it's almost like karma that we sat down and we're sitting between the Scorpion sign and the Mercury snowmobile. But Charlie, we want to thank you. Tomorrow, you heard Fritz's story a month or two ago, and you actually wanted to make sure it was true, which I'm glad you checked it out. But as we approach tomorrow now, December 14th, is your vintage snowmobile ride across the Mackinac Bridge. Mackinac Bridge. And Fritz is going to be the Grand Marshal of the parade. We're excited that you asked him back in for this ride. And we just want you to know how great your place is and that we look forward to doing a good job representing you tomorrow on your vintage snowmobile ride. So thank you for having us. Do you have any final words you'd like to share with anybody?
Sure. Fritz was saying about US 2. US 2 is a scenic byway now. And it's the main corridor through the UP. And that's why the museum wanted to be right on US 2, because tourism and to get the people to stop here at the museum. And we're called the Top of the Lake Snowmobile Museum. Fritz mentioned the lake. We're called the Top of the Lake Snowmobile Museum because we're literally the northernmost point of Lake Michigan is where Nobbinway is. So that's why it's called the Top of the Lake. US 2 being a scenic byway now, the last 4 or 5 years, it was designated as a scenic byway because of the lake shore you mentioned and the woods. And we're glad to be here. I can't wait for tomorrow. I've got a nice little old Viking for Fritz to take across. Only a little 300, but he'll make it across just fine.
He'll make it. And I think we figured out right when we walked in here that this road that this museum is located on today is actually the exact road that Fritz came across on his way down toward the Mackinac Bridge. So
yes,
kind of like
same road.
Friends meeting that didn't know each other in the past. So Thank you both for your time. We've had a great day here at the museum. And again, we look forward to the Parade tomorrow and a good turnout.